Today, I'm rising up to a challenge. So I'm thinking something made for a party. We'll throw in some wood, some music, some lights, a place for your cold drinks. We'll also figure out what's in this box. I'm Brad from Fix This Build That. Let's build something awesome. The idea I'm going for is an outdoor party table, so this cedar is going to be perfect for it. I'm going to pick through these and find some good ones for a table. I should be able to get what I need out of these boards. I'm going to run them through the planer so we can really get a look at the grain and pick the final ones. Working with cedar can be a challenge because it has tiny little knots in it or sometimes big knots. So I tried to work around that, and I think I've got 8 boards that are going to work for us. I can go ahead over to the miter saw and cut this down some, so hopefully it'll make things a little bit easier to work with as we go start edge joining and for the glue up. I've still got rough edges on these, so I'm going to hit the joiner, then we can move on over to the table saw. All right, this is much better now. I've got my boards here. They're all to width, and the length is still a bit long, which we'll cut to size a bit later. I've split these up into 3 different sets for the first glue ups. Now, I've got 2 sets of 3 right here, and these will be the outsides of the table, and then I have 2 boards right here that will be the inside, and these are actually going to get cut and then make room for a little drink well that we're going to put in there. I'm going to start with the small glue up first, and because I'm going to be planing all these little assemblies before I do the final glue up, I'm not going to worry too much about alignment. I'm just going to get it close because we can run it through the planer later. And they say the amount of clamps that you have is the amount of clamps that you need minus 1, so we'll see if I run out. I've already ran out of this style clamp. Let's go get more. All right, that's 1. I'm going to put this off to the side. I'm going to have to switch over to some much bigger clamps for these next ones. Now, here's a little tip for you when you're doing glue ups. Most boards are going to have a little bit of bow to them. So when you're looking at those final outside pieces, you want that bow to be up in the center, not up on the edges. So this one right now, if I pull it tight, the middle is tight and then the edges have a little gap. So I'm going to swing it around so that the ends are tight and the little bit of gap is in the middle. And that gives you a little bit of a spring, so that first clamp that you put it in the middle holds everything together. This can make your glue ups a lot easier and tighter. I got the panels out of the clamps, and I went ahead and knocked down some of the high spots and the dry glue with a little block plane. And this outside one here and this middle one turned out pretty nice. This last glue up did not go so well. It's more like a Twizzler than a glue up. It's got a huge twist to it, and so it really rocks. And because I'm going to be doing some designs in here where I really need everything flat, I went ahead and whipped up a sled so I can run it through my planer and get rid of this twist, because it's hard to do it by hand. So here's the sled I put together. It is just a couple pieces of 3/4 inch MDF, which I ripped down to be just a bit wider than this glue up and a little bit longer. I did have to pocket screw them together because I didn't have the board that long. Then on the end over here, I just nailed on a little 1/2 inch strip of plywood. So now what I'll be able to do is put this on here and then shim underneath it so that there's no wobble. So when it goes through the planer, it will plane the high spots, then I can flip it over once it's flat and get the rest of the side. Let's see if it works. I'm just going to use a hot glue gun and these shims to shim everything up over here. You need to make sure that you have a flat surface underneath it before you start shimming. All right, now as soon as the planer hits every surface on this top, I know it should be flat, so I'm going to flip it over. And it's not. It's better. I'm going to try it on the other side and see if I can make it flat. All right, let's see if this is any better. That's close enough. There's still a little bit there, but you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't quote me on that. All right, we're gonna get these other panels down in the same size. We can go to the next step. Everything's nice and smooth and ready for glue up, but we need to address this center part. And the reason I made it this size is for this. This is just a little flower box planter and it is plastic. And this is what we're going to use to drop in the middle to hold all the drinks. So I need the cutout to be the size of this box. I've already got the width correct on the glue up. Now I can just take this measurement right here. Right now I can cut the pieces to size on the miter saw. I've got all set up for the glue up on the top, and I did a few things beforehand. I'm using some biscuits here in the glue up, and all these are little alignment helpers, so they're not really helping with any strength. This is just to keep everything aligned and in the correct orientation. We'll have to see how this goes because this guy's just kind of teetering here, but I'm hoping that the biscuits are going to help me out, and I'll just start throwing clamps on here, and let's hope things go well and this doesn't all just tip over. And I hope that's not foreshadowing. No. I don't think I was just filming that. Oh, dang it. Unfortunately, I forgot to press record as I realized when I was coming around to turn it off. Now, everything did turn out okay, and I actually have some security footage up there that we can get a peek at, but I almost glued a board in the wrong spot. I ripped my microphone almost straight off of my shirt, and I dropped shims all over the place like I was playing pickup sticks. So, you know, just a typical glue up. All right, I got the tabletop out of the clamps after it dried overnight, and it turned out really nice. A little drink well for beers is a great start to a party table, but we need it to look cool too. So I'm thinking some routed in designs on the top that we can backfill with epoxy and then backlight it with LEDs. And there's some more tricks up my sleeve too. But for now, Chris did some designs for me that I then loaded into my CNC software. So I'm gonna take this over to the CNC. All right. I can just slap this bad boy on the CNC. Maybe not. Now this thing is really big, but the nice thing is I have the CNC on wheels, so I can move it around and pivot it. The great thing about the Inventables X-Carve in their easel program, they are a channel sponsor, and the cool thing is they have this tiling feature. So it can break up the cuts, and it has an open base, so you can just move it in there and you could cut something 12 feet long if you wanted to. But I'm gonna just do 3 sections, and that's gonna allow me to do the full design. I'll have a link down below to easel if you wanna check out the design software that lets you do this. The first cut is done, and it went ahead and stopped where the next one is gonna come in. So now I just need to unclamp it, move it down, and then do the next run. And hopefully if I've got it set up right, it should just be a continuous cut. The CNC work turned out great, and this design is gonna be really cool when we backfill it in. Just had to do a little bit of cleanup on it. But instead of just picking one color of epoxy, I'm gonna pick all the colors. We're gonna put white epoxy in here, and then I'm actually gonna route it out from underneath and then put LEDs in there so we could change it to whatever color we want. That's gonna be pretty complicated, but we'll figure it out as we go along. But we'll start with mixing up some epoxy. I'm gonna mix some slow setting epoxy. I'm gonna use some Total Boat High Performance with some white powdered pigment, and that's gonna give us a really nice look. And I prepped the table by putting a light coat of polyurethane around the edges so that the epoxy won't bleed out into the fibers. I also put a little bit of blue tape here so that it won't spill out the ends into the drink well. I'm just gonna mix this in a few small batches and fill these up to the top and then let them dry overnight. The epoxy is all cured, and I ran it through my drum sander to flatten everything out. Way easier than doing it by hand. And I think I'm just gonna call this the $10,000 table, because I'm throwing about every machine in the shop at it, and we're not done yet. Now, if you're wondering how I'm gonna get the LEDs to light up from the back, here's how I'm gonna do it. So I made a little test piece, and I routed out some pieces in the back, and I found out the thing that worked best is to have a 3/4 inch strip on the back that I'll just route all the way through from the back side until I get to the epoxy. Then I could put this little bad boy to use, which is a wireless LED controller, and I'll talk more about that later. But if I light it up from behind, then we get this. So now I've got to route out those channels on the back side of the top, and then I'm going to CNC a couple more holes in the top for something that's a little secret I'll show you later. Now let's check out what was in that box from our sponsor, Timberland Pro and Sam Adams. I ripped the sucker open and it was filled with gear from their limited edition collection together. So the first thing there was their direct attach work boots. Now these are awesome. They've got the iconic Timberland Pro yellow, but they're trimmed in the Sam Adams blue, which made them look really cool. They also have the two logos on the heels and this cool little bottle opener with them. They sent over this killer mini fridge with the mashup artwork on it that looks awesome, but it had some apparel in it. It had this work tee, which you've been seeing me wear the entire build, along with a hoodie, and they're comfy and lightweight, and they have some fun little details like this little beer-proof insignia on them. I've been wearing Timberland Pro for the last 3 years, and I love their boots and their sturdy clothes. It's really fun to see them team up with another awesome brand like Sam Adams. Now, if you want to get your hands on some of this gear, check the link down below in the description, but you gotta hurry because it is a limited edition. A big thank you to Timberland Pro for sponsoring today's video. After all the CNCing, this thing is looking like Swiss cheese. It also kind of looks like a cassette tape, if you know what that is. But honestly, I'm kind of second guessing myself. I should have maybe poured the epoxy a little bit deeper so I didn't have to route down so far, because I've removed a lot of material, and especially over here, you can see how thin it is. It really flexes on me. The next step is actually cutting the waterfall edges and folding up a miter and gluing everything. So I'm hoping that that will add a lot of strength, at least to the width of the table. These little spots here will still be a little weak, but I think we'll be okay. So let's just start cutting the miters and see what happens. Guys, you do not know how close I just came to ruining this entire project. After I cut the ends off, I went to grab this middle piece to pick it up, not thinking that this entire tabletop is being held together by a 1/4 inch of wood here, 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 and here. As I was picking it up, I just happened to look down and the whole thing was flexing up like this far from snapping. Thankfully, I saw it and I stopped it. So I went ahead and I cut some little keys, I guess we'll call them, so I can slide these in, and hopefully this will give support. It's still not gonna help it from doing this, so I'm just gonna have to be really careful about how I handle this, and I'm gonna tape those things in place so that when I'm doing the miter glue up, hopefully that will hold things together. But my goodness, this is getting super dicey. I hope this thing does not snap in half. All right, we're safe for now. So after a lot of deliberation and consternation and any other big word that means I just sat here and stared at this, I've decided to add in a frame. And what I did was I cut some pieces here so I can just fit these in here, and then I can have a full piece in the back. But on the front side, I'm gonna have to have a split rail because of where the electronics are gonna be for the things that you'll see later. I'm just gonna pocket screw this frame together, hope that it lines up exactly right, and put it down to the base and then do the miters. That's the plan. Let's see what happens. All right, now this should let me turn this over. Yeah, this is nice and solid. This is nice to be able to flip this around easily. So here's where my little electronics are gonna go. So I can put a little spacer under this side to get it level. But what I would typically do is put the ends on here, tape the miter, and then flip it over and put the glue on it and fold it up, and then use that tape as a hinge. I'm gonna still try to do that, and we'll just see what happens. I brought over a little work stand. It's very wobbly, but it'll hold that one, and then I can have them both there and flip them over after I tape the edges on the top. And this is the same strapping tape that I used on the floating shelves with the miters on them. So you can see that if you want to get more info. And if it stays together when I flip it, then it should provide a great hinge. This one is probably going to be exponentially more dicey. This miter's got more gaps than Grandma's teeth. All right, so this is going to be the trickiest part, so I brought in the reinforcements. All right.
Like butter. Woo! All right, that was good.
All right, I mixed up some epoxy. I'm going to be using that instead of glue here, and it'll help fill those gaps a little bit, and it'll cure nice and solid. All right, here we go. I'm just using a little syringe to kind of backfill in some epoxy right down into the gap because some of these are a little loose on the backside. All right, let's see how this turned out. That doesn't look good. So I can definitely see daylight here. I'm gonna stick something down in there. No, those are just huge gaps. Why does this project hate me? All right. This is a mess. My only guess is that it all soaked into the end grain because it was soaking to the end grain pretty fast, and then it soaked into the end grain before it set up because I was using a slow hardener versus a fast hardener. So I'm gonna tape up the sides and then try to pump in some fast hardener, and who knows? After a lot of extra epoxy, I think we are finally good. I'm not gonna go crazy on this, but it's okay. All right, now let's flip this thing over. Oh goodness gracious, is it seriously epoxied to the table? That was just one little dot. Let's flip this bad boy over and see what we've got. All right, that will do. Okay, I'm gonna take off this tape and see how these miters look. They're probably horrible. Yeah, these miters had huge gaps in them, and so the epoxy did fill them in. Not the best looking joint ever, but with some finish on there, hopefully you won't be able to tell as much. So I'm gonna clean up those miters and apply some finish to this, but I'm also gonna start working on the LEDs. So I've got the LEDs, and now I'm gonna be able to lay these into the channels. And the way that I'm thinking about mounting them is using these little 3D printed strips that I have modeled up. So I've been kind of messing around with this. These, I think, will press fit in there. It'll hold the LED strip and then hold it tight, and I won't have to put any extra fasteners on here. That's the goal. But once I can lay out all the LED strips, then I can also put the electronics in, wire everything up, and it's gonna run off of two 18-volt batteries, which is gonna be great because I've got a bunch of those for my power tools. So I'll clean up the table, get some finish on it, and while that's drying, I can work on all the LED layout and get everything ready to be installed and wired up. And we'll be ready to party. It's time to start wiring everything up, and I'm going to show you the entire kit that's going into the table. And there's a lot of stuff here on the table, so I'm going to go really high level. Basically, we have two sides. We've got the music side. Yes, these are 5 1/4 inch speakers, and that's what's going in those holes. You probably already figured that out. And it has a little amplifier, and I'm going to hook it up to this little converter that I have for my batteries. I've got a bunch of these extra batteries, and then we can plug it in and use the 20 volts. Now, this amplifier can go up to 24 volts, so I don't have to do anything with the voltage on this one. Now, the left side, this is going to be where all the LEDs live. This will also be run off a battery, but these guys run off of 5 volts. So I need to step it down, and I'm going to use a little DC buck converter to take it from 20 volts down to 5 volts. And then I'm going to take it into this little guy. It's an ESP8266. It's a WeMOS D1 Mini. I'll have links below in the description to all this stuff in case you want to explore it more. And then that's going to run and drive the LEDs. The cool thing is the WeMOS is also Wi-Fi enabled, so I can control everything on my app. And I'm going to have this little red button here just in case we want to change LED settings. We should be able to push that and cycle through once it's in the table. And then I'm also going to put a little power switch so that we can turn this on and off. And all that's going to go into the front of the table, and I'm going to have a little control panel on the front with a power button for the Mini, the little controller button, and then the volume control for the amplifier. So let's get it all hooked up. All right, I've got the speakers hooked up and we're going to try them out. I'm gonna put the battery in here, which is hooked up to the amplifier, and the battery just mounts right underneath. Love that. And I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on. All right, we are now in Bluetooth. Let me pull in a copyright-free song. Those sound really good. I love this. All right, the sound is working. Now it's time to check out the LEDs. Let me turn this on. Yep. Whoa! Oh, there they are! Let's turn all these lights out. Ooh! Oh, check that out. I'm here. You just can't see me. Check out the lights. Oh man, this is really cool, but it's gonna be even cooler if I can control them. Let me see what I can do here. Oh no! Wi-Fi problems. All right, unfortunately, I could not get it to work for me to control it with my phone. I tell you what, I'm gonna figure this thing out. I'm gonna put the insert in there, get it loaded up with some beers, take it outside, turn on the music, and we'll have a reveal, hopefully with the LEDs working and maybe even some music. The drinks are all loaded up and I'm gonna fire this bad boy up. I'm gonna turn on the speakers first and the LED lights and let those connect to the Wi-Fi. And I even got it working with the music. If you want to check out some other cool builds, I've got a playlist queued up for you right there. And I want to give a big thank you to the folks that have been joining the FTBT Builders Club. Also, thank you to Sam Adams and Timberland Pro for sponsoring today's video. And always remember to drink responsibly.